think YouTube is live. Let's not forget to record this. It'll start recording when I start. Oh, I know what I have to do. I'm about to create a loop. Let's not forget. There we go. And we'll let in the people. We've got a recording going. Okay, welcome everyone. We're just going to start in a minute here. We're just letting everybody in. We'll let Zoom bring in our usual guests, or our usual audience rather. Eleanor and Cecile are our guests today. Okay, I think we can start now. We're live on YouTube. Welcome everyone that's watching us there. Welcome to our live audience here on Zoom webinar, and welcome to the Friday webinar here on CCTV. I'm the Executive Director of Conservatory Canada, Derek Auger, and it's our pleasure to present these webinars to you almost every Friday throughout the academic year. And today we have Eleanor Gummer and Cecile Desrosiers are here with us. They're our stalwarts. They're here almost every month. And they'll be back with us in 3 weeks' time on February 9th to go over some more music by women composers. And I'll just give a quick rundown on what's going to happen in the coming weeks. We were to have Arthur Uhl join us next Friday, but he's unable in the end. Something's come up for him and he's not able to join us. So we're going to reschedule his webinar on rare music in the repertoire for piano teachers. We're going to reschedule that for the fall. And I think what I'll do is I'll just step in next Friday myself, and I'm just going to do an Ask Me Anything. I'll present a little bit of information on a few things that I've been holding back and letting out in dribs and drabs, but maybe I'll elaborate a little bit on things like our forthcoming piano publications. And we're going to redo our piano repertoire series, so I can talk a little bit more about that. I'll talk a little bit about digital badges as well, and the upcoming June session. Registrations for in-person exams. I'll talk about that. And I'll be here to answer your questions next Friday on any other matters you have as you look ahead to the exam season and things that you want to know or understand about all of the intricate details. We are quite convoluted and complicated. We've proven that through the launch of our new database and user portals last year. We're still kind of working through that process. We have a new update coming to those portals today that will help me in my administrative role here a lot easier, I think, with these upcoming June exams. And I think we're in a good place with that whole database now. But the whole exercise has reminded me how complicated our things are while we try to please everybody and provide something for everyone to use as we customize that exam and assessment process. So after next week, we're going to have Sandra DiCenzo. A lot of you have shown interest in this webinar that she calls the Star Factor on Friday, February 2nd. She's going to talk in a rather interesting way I can attest to, because I've heard a lot of her ideas in the past, how to motivate students, how to get them motivated, how to keep them engaged practicing throughout the year by running various contests and all sorts of neat things. So you're really going to like that. 2 weeks from now, February 2nd. February 9th, Eleanor and Cecile are back here again, and I think they're going to talk about the music of Laure Choisy, if I'm not mistaken. And then February 16th and 23rd, I'm still waiting on a couple things. I don't think we're going to have a webinar on the 16th, but I think we will on February 23rd. I'm just not quite sure exactly what it's going to be yet. I've had to work out a couple travel details for myself. So watch your inbox for more about this. I'll send everyone an email early next week or mid next week so that you can see the updated schedule as it's unfolding here. And for today, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat box. I know you're going to enjoy this presentation. There's always great pedagogical insights from Eleanor and Cecile. I'll turn it over to both of you now. If anyone has any questions in the chat box or the Q&A, and I'll be here in the background if anybody needs me. Eleanor and Cecile, thanks for joining us today.
A pleasure. It was great to be back again. We're going to talk about Hedwige Chretien today. She was born in 1859 in Compiègne, France. Her father was a famous violinist, and her father was a distinguished engineer. She studied at the Paris Conservatoire, excelling in the study of harmony, fugue, and counterpoint. She was an organ student of César Franck, who was very impressed with her improvisational skills. At the Conservatoire, she was the recipient of many prizes, including first prize of the Society of Composers, the first time it was ever awarded to a woman. She went on to teach at the Conservatoire, but resigned after 2 years due to health reasons, and from there she really devoted herself to composition. In 1889, she was named an academic officer of the Lord de Palme Academic and was then promoted to officer of public instruction. Now, we really didn't know a lot about her personal life until recently. And apparently, according to some court documents or court reports in the Paris newspapers, she was raised by separated parents, and she had a tumultuous marriage to a flautist. They split they were divorced in, I believe, 1901. He was denied custody of their two children after the divorce, so he hid their son in a boarding house and tried to kill Hedwige's stepfather, whom he suspected of preventing him from seeing his daughter. So another rather tragic life to this woman. I've seen reports where it says she composed more than 250 works, but I think Cecile and I have found it's actually, I think, more like over 300 works. She
Yeah.
performed in virtually all genres. She chamber music, orchestral music, ballets, methods and teaching pieces, works for piano and organ and light music. She wrote an operetta, composed the music for a musical comedy. So she was very well known in her time. She died in 1944, and then, like so many women, poof, gone. So I personally have just loved her music. It has a charm to it, some incredible use of harmonies. So we're going to present first the three sonatines for you. And let me just pull the score up here. All right, so this is Sonatine 1, the Pastoral. So as you can see from the score, there are a lot of details on articulation, slurs, staccatos, and then the melody moves back and forth between the hands. So at the beginning, obviously the right hand has the melody, but if you look at the end of line 2, she's indicated sostenuto in the left hand, and the melody moves into the left hand. And then back to the right hand. And then back into the left hand. And again, the right hand. So we have this back and forth movement between the hands, which really makes it rather interesting. The other pedagogical issues, we have a lot of tied notes, especially in the left hand. So a lot of tied notes in the thumb, and then of course when the left hand has the melody, we have tied notes in the right hand. But very expressive, beautiful piece. The second movement is an andante. So I should mention the first movement is on the Conservatory Canada level 4 syllabus, and the andante is level 3. So the andante, incredibly lyrical, expressive, really good to develop the legato touch in a student and shaping phrases. The melody is all in the right hand, but again, we have all these tied notes in the left hand. So it's a good opportunity to create some independence of hands. The third movement is a scherzo. Scherzo, of course, means joke, so a musical joke, and it's actually quite delightful. So we've got this wonderful theme that is reiterated between the hands and then into the right hand. And then it keeps coming back. In fact, on the second page, if you look at the end, the middle of line 2, she's inverted it in the right hand. Very, very detailed markings for the articulation, staccato, slurs. On the first page, I like to come off on all these 3-note slurs in line 2. I think it really lends to the humor of the piece, and of course, tremendous variation in dynamics, which makes it a lot of fun to play. I especially love the piulento at the end. So the whole piece is in A minor, and then at the very end, the piulento is in A major. And then it's kind of a very flippant at the end, back into tempo. So it really has tremendous humor in it, a very imaginative piece. So this would be good for a student who maybe likes to make up stories about their pieces, or to give to a student who needs to expand their imagination and add character to their playing. Technically, it's a bit challenging, but if you have a technically good student but needs some musical development, this would probably be a good piece for that. So that's a level 4. The final movement, the finale. character in this piece, we sort of have two principal ideas. We have this sort of the trill-like figure in the right hand, and then the more lyrical when he comes in line two. Again, extreme dynamics, tempo changes, very, very colorful piece. Let me move this to the second and the third pages. So on the second page, we have a big crescendo that begins in line 3. And then leading into that animato section. And then, of course, on the final page, the original lyrical theme comes in. So again, a piece full of character. There are a lot of details of articulation, extreme dynamics, the melody being passed back and forth between the right hand and the left hand. So again, a very good piece for teaching articulation, teaching attention to details. I was working with a student at the ARCT level yesterday, a Haydn sonata, and something he hasn't been taught is the attention to detail. I had another student on, oh gosh, maybe Wednesday night, I'm thinking, and it was a Mozart sonata we're working on. And again, attention to details, all those rests, all those slurs. So when you're dealing with that at the grade 10 and ARCT level, and they haven't learned it in the earlier grades, it's a challenge. So these pieces are really a great vehicle for a younger and intermediate student to learn the attention to detail, to come off the ends of slurs, to make those staccatos, to recognize staccatos as opposed to legato section. Voicing, when does the left hand have the melody and the right hand has to be quieter? So it's coordination of hands. So they're great pieces. And then character, to bring out character and emotions in the pieces, makes them really fun to teach. So Cecile, would you like to talk about the second sonatine?
The second one, yes. And I'll continue on the same themes, the attention to details, games with articulations, contrasts, coordination between the hands. I really like those sonatine. I find that they're ideal with adult students who can work on the whole thing. They're very a good example of typical 4-movement sonatas. You know, you have the medium speed first movement, and then the andante, the slow movement. This one has a minuet as a third movement, and the finale that's bright and playful. Also, I think I do anyway. Sometimes I have students who are not too crazy about the classical style. They don't feel any much connection. And so that's a good alternative when you want a student to learn about the sonata form, to do something in that style. They're great, they're ideal. So here's the first movement. Those movements, the sonata, it's more, it has been graded between grade 5 and 7, so a little bit more advanced than Sonatina 1. So the first movement, allegretto. in terms of technical challenges, you need firm fingers and flexible wrists for that kind of figures. And again, it's all about phrasings and articulations. It's really a study on different touches. You get them all. You have the staccato, you have the straight staccato, the wedges. I'm talking about, for example, bar 6. Staccato. So those mean even shorter. You also get the accents that you would find like bar 34. After those ones, it's always those are expressive. So you want to follow the way, but you're still looking for the students should still looking for a nice expressive sound. I don't know, there's something visual. Often they will go for more percussive sound, but here it's very elegant and expressive, and also you have the accents like little hats at the last line, bar 46. That are more percussive, more decided there. And the Louré, bar 48. So Louré, again, I find it's important to, when you have indications like that given by the composer, often I find that the students, they don't know, and you have to tell them to be curious, to teach them to be curious and look for the definition. What is Louré? They have to be curious and look for it. Have the desire to know what it's all about. So Louré is defined as portato, a slurred legato. So you need to separate notes slightly to articulate them in a cantabile character, which is for sure what we have here. So all of those that Eleanor was talking about, details, all of those different articulations, later you have the dashes also. They need to be really clearly differentiated. And so the groupings, the articulations are very clear because it's all part of the character, creating the character of the movement. The second, I wanted to mention, second page. There's some, we were talking about coordinations. There's some times where the right hand is doing something and the left hand has a totally different articulations. So you find as the children do, you do a lot of this, you know. So if you look, for example, at the top of the second page, the grouping, the notes are slurred by 2, bar 26, 27, but differently. Oh, so the right hand is going, but the left hand is going. So the grouping are not together. So that takes a bit of work to get. I'm looking here, another place, 33, 34, second line, the last 2 bars. The right hand goes wedges, very staccato, and then while the left hand is just very legato. 44, the last bar, that's perfect example. The left hand is staccato, but the right hand has dashes. So that affects the voicing. it's those little things that need to be brought out and thought. You can't, yeah, you have to give attention to details. The pedal must be light, keep it clear. But in this movement, it's pretty standard. An interesting effect is that she used the vibrato. You start with a 2-quarter note pickup, the melody. When it comes back, the 2-quarter notes pickup are in a ritenuto, which creates a really interesting effect. So in that music, like I said, you have to give attention to details and you cannot take anything for granted. It's not because it was like that the first time it's going to be the same the second time it comes back. The second movement, the andante, is the first one was graded level 6. The second one, the andante, the slow movement, at level 5. It's the first movement was in F major. We're moving in B flat. So the second one is more poetic, more expressive. And she writes it a few times during the piece. Expressive, expressivo, très expressive. To keep reminding us that it needs to sing. So it's in 6/8. So again, we find the same subtleties in accentuations. For example, the fourth bar. The right hand has this accent against the left hand that has a dash. So more expressive with the E flat. And you find that again later, if you look at under 12, the fourth line. That brings out semitone in the left hand that makes it more colorful. Sometimes, again, you have some combinations that are a bit surprising, that need a bit of work. I was talking about bar 4, another one, bar 9. So both hands have different sounds, different color. They say something different. The poco animato, that was interesting. A tempo, but un poco animato. So a bit more sound, a bit happier, I would say. More presence from the left hand. The pedal, she gives a few indications, but only for long notes. Like if you look at the second line, to bring out more sound in the bass. The third movement It's very playful. It's lovely. It's a menuetto, allegro con spirito. So lively in a lively manner. In French, the word con spirito is associated with witty. So the technical challenge are mostly with the touches again, staccato. It's a really nice movement, I find. That would be level 5. Technical challenges, the staccato touch, of course, that needs firm fingers and a quiet wrist. Sometimes I see the students, they want to make sure that they're relaxed here, so they will add a movement from the wrist, which interferes with the staccato touch. So it's to explain to them that the action is happening here, and that all that work as a unit. The coordinations between the hands. For example, there's a few spots that are a bit tricky that needs work. A good example of that is the second line, first page. When you have, if you look at the last 2 bars, the right hand is detached, but you have a slur between the A and the B. It took me a bit of work to become comfortable with that. And the student has to think about the fingering also for this. The pedals, again, she gives a few indications, but it doesn't need that much because it's mostly staccato touch. Another thing is a surprising effect, no ritornito at the end, a tempo. And the last movement is the most challenging. And again, it's all about articulations and touches. So it's allegretto grazioso, and it had been graded at level 7. technical challenges. It's the coordination. The beginning really takes sometimes. You have that left hand that has long half note, and the coordinate note that are short. And she has unusual. The pedal is unusual there. Down, and it's very effective, but it needs, again, it needs thought, it needs work to assimilate that. And the fingers. Another challenge is this: the right hand, the 3-note, the 3/8 notes motive. Sometimes it's linked, and sometimes it. And again, that contributes to the character that's playful. So it really needs work to get that, especially the two hands together. Again, we go back to that. The grouping of the notes is a challenge at times. But it's a lot of fun to work on that piece. The other thing is bar 25, the second page, you have a change of tempo, jocoso, so a bit more moving. It's light and happy, merry, lively, with lots of humor. It comes from, jesting, jocoso, joyful, playful. The effects of pedal are different, so they need to be followed closely. It's a piece that's full of subtleties, with touches, with articulations, and with pedaling. But it's a lot of fun. But like I said earlier, you can't take anything for granted. The student has to give attention to details and enjoy bringing out those details. And the third one?
The Joyeuse Nouvelle. I think something that you really see in these sonatines is she was a teacher, and they're very much fantastic teaching material. And I don't know of any other set of sonatines suitable for students that at this level that are even similar to this. We get the sonatines from the classical era, the normal Clementi, Kuhlau, Duvernay, Diabelli, but these have their own language, and they're very appealing. They're really refreshing as a nice change from the traditional sonatinas.
Oh, absolutely. And they're interesting to work on. And I'm looking for the words here. It raises the curiosity of the students. The inquisitive. Okay, this is different. How do I do with this? What do I do? What does that mean?
Exactly. And her harmonic language, like the chords, the colors, are just fabulous. They're really refreshing. So this third sonatine is my personal favorite of the three. It's just first movement, happy news, and I think it sounds happy, and it certainly makes me happy every time I play it. So just really a charming work, a beautiful, beautiful melodic line. The melody is all in the right hand, but I love the switch into A major for the middle section, and then the più lento top of the second page. The harmonies were coming out of. It's just such an interesting and colorful use of harmony. It's really quite lovely. Again, attention to detail, lots and lots of attention to slurs that she's put in, tempo changes, dynamics markings. But I think the most important thing here is a very expressive tone, a good legato touch, and shaping the phrases. So it's a very, very charming first movement.
You said something, it's expressive, but it's happy.
Yes.
And I think lots of students, children and teenagers, they need this. You know, sometimes the romantic piece, it's a bit too much for them. This is being expressive, but calm and happy and serene. It's not dramatic, you know what I mean?
Not dark.
Not dark, that's it. Yes.
So it's just happy, and yeah, you're right, expressive, but in a happy, positive way. And I think
yes,
we need more of that.
Yes, I totally agree. With my students, I see this. Yeah.
Absolutely. The second movement is an andante. Oh, I should mention the first movement is level 8. So again, they sort of go up, the first sonatine being the easiest, second, and now the third is all level 7 and 8, except the scherzo. So, okay, so the andante espressivo. So this is really a great piece to experiment with voicing. So the opening statement is repeated, begin the very last note of the first page, and then into the second page. So here, you could experiment with bringing out the tenor line. As a contrast. So in a way, the soprano and the tenor operate as a duet. So if you bring out the top notes the first time, when that theme comes back, you could experiment with bringing out the tenor line. So it really lends itself to some interesting opportunities. In bar 9, she indicates in the second line, sostenuto in the left hand, so meaning the left hand has the melody here. And again, that comes back on the second page. And then in line 3, who has the melody? Is it this? Or is it? So my preference there is the left hand, and then moving to the right hand. So, but again, there's more than one right answer. That's the beautiful thing about music. And I had this conversation with a student last week, how do you want to play it? And she looked at me, she says, I can choose? I said, yes. Do you
Yeah.
want to start loud and this part's soft, or do you want to start soft and then play when it repeats loud? I said, you can try it both ways. And sometimes in performance, you might just want to do the opposite because you feel it that way. So you have some choice. And she looked at me like this was like, I can choose. I said, the nice thing about music is there's more than one right answer. So this is a good piece to allow students to think, what do they want to do with it? Chretien has put in the crescendos and diminuendos, and she's put in some indications, for instance, when the left hand has the melody, but where it's not indicated, there is some freedom to experiment. And so the student starts to think independently, and that's what creates an artist.
Yeah. And they're thinking more and more,
Yes.
seeing that they have choices. It gives them a sense of, they develop their sense of initiative and their curiosity of, okay, what can I do? What is possible? And experiment. And they become more, it feeds their curiosity and their initiative spirit. So I think that's so important.
They also have ownership of the piece. It's not my teacher told me to play loud here and my teacher told me to play soft, that it's their input. And in the end, that's what makes a convincing performance.
Yeah. And they're becoming more involved.
Exactly.
In the work at the piano.
Exactly. So this is the stage, when they get into level 6, 7, 8, this is really where you want to start to develop that with a student, where they start thinking, what can I do with the piece? How do I think it should be shaped?
Yeah.
All right. And then the third movement. Right. This is on another file. So let me just stop that share and there we go. Okay, the scherzo. So again, musical joke. And this one is a level 5. Sorry, I'll try that again. Returns. So what's interesting here is we have the theme. So it appears the first time she indicates it as dolce. When it comes back in line 2, now she has the tenuto marks, the little dashes under the notes. And then in line 3, it's marked with a slur and staccatos. And then in line 4, it's piano. And then it comes back in the left hand at the bottom of that first page where the tempo indication is. And then picked up by the right hand. And then, of course, on the second page, again, it comes back. And I was looking at this thinking, this is actually rather interesting. So what makes this a scherzo? And then I thought, perhaps it's the different character of each entry of that theme. So when I studied with Schnabel in New York, he used to make us play a simple folk song. And we'd have to, ideally, I believe he wanted something like 50 adjectives. And we would have to play it, thinking of different adjectives. So we would get different characters from just a simple folk tune like Mary Had a Little Lamb. To think of it in a number of different ways, with different adjectives, just in our touch and dynamic level, not changing the notes. So I thought, in a way, this is exactly what this is. So the first one is dolce, And then in bar 9, the second line, I wrote the word confident. And then in line 3, I thought playful. And then it comes in the left hand in a similar character. And then line 4, I put wistful just because of the piano marking. Just the way it ends. And then I have pompous for the forte. Sorry, let's try that again. So pompous through there. And then on the second page, we have the leggero section, which is lovely. And then the theme comes in again. And this time going all the way up the scale. So for that one, I use the adjective charming. So just as an idea on how to approach this, just to get the student thinking. Now, those are my adjectives. A student might have different ones. But to get them thinking in terms of color and character. All right, and then the finale is a level 8. So full of scale passages, slurs, staccatos, pedal, different, again, characters in line 2, this broken chord pattern. In there, and then resuming scales, tremendous variety of dynamics. The trill in bar 28, I take the A and the B together with the left hand. Rather than trying to trill, and do that underneath. So the trill in the right hand. And the rest of the notes in the left hand to make it a little bit easier to access. She's got some changing dynamics. After the trill going into the minor key, and then she has dolce. So again, very different characters throughout the piece. It's a challenging movement. I think it is rewarding because of the charm, just the charm, the colorful harmonies, and the different characters you can portray throughout it. All right.
Absolutely. It's a lovely piece.
It is. So the collection is published as a collection available on our website. However, I have also now published each sonatine by themselves on Sheet Music Plus and Sheet Music Direct. So for digital download. So they are available there along with the Chretien, this Six Petites Préludes Récréatifs. And then the next pieces that we're going to talk about, three of them will also be available for download on Sheet Music Plus within the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that Farandal?
I'll talk about the Farandal very quickly. It's not our greatest piece, but it's a fun piece. Sometimes we have students who want to play fast. So it's a brilliant piece, showy, but easy to put under the fingers. It's a Farandole is a dance from Provence where it's a chain dance where everybody's is holding hand or holding a ribbon, and there's a leader that leads the dancers in a kind of snake figure. So it's a wandering chain, and it's accompanied by drummers, tambourine most of the time. So the left hand is really easy. So it's repeated notes F and C. Technically, it's the endurance that comes in play. So, sorry?
I forgot to download the score for this, so I apologize. I don't have the score available for us.
Yeah, it's this book. It was found in it was published in a magazine called the Journal des Demoiselles in 1900, and the Journal des Demoiselles was a magazine for girls 14 to 18. It was talking about different topics, a little bit of history, a little bit of geography, a little bit of poetry, excerpts from new books, reviews of concerts, no novels because that would have been too romantic. Drawing, they were talking about drawing was encouraging, writing was not, because it was opening the door to the imagination, which was dangerous for women. So superficial, so that the girls wouldn't be stupid. They would learn something, they would have some knowledge, but they would not be tempted to, they would not become intellectuals, you know. So the goal was that they would become good partners to their husband, good mothers to for their sons. Which was the contradiction was that it had been founded by women, and it was directed by women, and it was women who were writing for it. So in a way, it was a bit of a contradiction. It was published between 1833 and 1922. So that explains that this piece is like lighter than what Chretien wrote in general. Then it comes back. So, like I said, the technical challenge is the left hand building the endurance, and then keeping a steady pulse throughout. and that's pretty much it. It's you have the clear, even 16th notes. So again, contrast and dynamics. So again, a virtuoso piece that's bright, that's fun to play, scale technique, firm fingers, firm hands, and I find that a lot of students need this, the firm fingers, the action, the presence in each finger. And so that's a great piece, fun to play, fun to work on, to learn and to perform. And then we're moving back to more serious works. The Nocturne, that's so beautiful.
It's one of my favorite pieces by her. I just think this would be like, wandering down a street in Paris in the evening. So here's the Nocturne. So really just incredibly gorgeous piece. The harmonies, everything is just, it's really lovely. The challenges in this piece, the melody goes back and forth between the right hand, the left hand, it's buried in the middle. So voicing is very important. Pedaling is, you really have to listen to make sure things aren't blurred. The tempo animato, the bottom of the first page, melody in the left hand. And then very light accompanying chords in the right hand. My favorite part of the piece is the second page measure. I mean, that's just incredibly gorgeous harmonies through there. And then to end the piece, when the theme comes back. The interplay between the two hands, the left hand becomes rather prominent in places and kind of just fills in. There's a communication between the two hands. And then she has animato at the end of line 1, end of line 2, più animato, and then suddenly più lento in the fourth line. It's just like sort of just all dissolves into the evening sky. So it really is a beautiful piece. It's not graded for Conservatory Canada just yet. It's not on the syllabus list, but it could be used as an own choice piece. Cecile, I think we put it at what, about grade 8, grade 9?
I think we put it at grade 9.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, so and for a Royal Conservatory exam, it definitely could be teacher's choice as well. So, a nice option. And the Scherzo Valse that Cecile is going to talk about and the Soir Mauve are all going to be available for digital download in the next few days on Sheet Music Plus. I was hoping to get it done before this webinar, but life happened this week, so it'll be available in the next few days.
Yeah, soon. So the Scherzo Valse is it's a valse. Usually we're used to 3 beats, strong, weak, weak. This one is a bit unusual. That's where the scherzo comes in. Playful, a light composition, lots of humor in this piece. So you'll hear that it has an unusual second beat, let's say. idea. It's a lovely piece, very romantic. You feel the influence of Chopin's waltzes, but it's more playful, humorous, a bit ironic. And you can hear the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the pedaling contributes to that ironic character. Great for students with a solid technique, who would be less inclined towards romantic, expressive but dramatic, dark characters that would go more towards Mendelssohn than towards Chopin or Liszt. The phrasing and the rubato are challenging. The constant changes of keys and characters from E flat major to, and so there's a color for this, but then you get and then you jump to with the melody in the middle that needs to sing and project. So it's a question of voicing also. The pedaling is, a marking for the pedaling is unusual, and it needs to be followed closely. I mean, it makes it very effective. It contributes a lot to the character, the connection, and the sounds, the effects. And again, we go back to the same thing. The student needs to be comfortable with the different touches and needs to be able to give attention to details of articulations, phrasings, rubato. You need to be really solid, very secure with the text to make it playful, light and bubbly, and play with that elasticity. And again, there's a coordination between the hands with the pedaling, the foot also, that makes it tricky, challenging, but lots of fun. You need to be on the ball all the time to play that piece. And before we end, we'd like to mention the Soir Mauve. That's a beautiful piece. And again, it's very romantic, but it's never over the top in terms of expression. You know what I mean? Like, there's some students who just are more introvert. So this is the type of repertoire that gives them the opportunity to open up a bit without feeling that it's too much. They're showing their emotions too much. So I'm gonna play the first part of this. It's a very romantic piece. It has a kind of floating ethereal quality, very refined, sophisticated, very, I would say, I mean, introvert. I'm like you, Eleanor. I always look for adjectives to describe a piece, to get into them. And she's doing that too by, you know, we mentioned that she gives title even to the sonatina. The second one was called Dès l'aurore, so as at the break of dawn. So they lead easily to storytelling. Soir Mauve, I was wondering why mauve. It's a color that's associated with women, actually, in older times, in the 19th century, early 20th century. It's a color of transformation, of self-discovery. It's associated with women's creativity, intuition, spirituality. So it's very appropriate. So it's not the definitive interpretation, but I really wanted to give you an idea of it. So same attention to detail, articulations, same elasticity. That would be, we were thinking more associate level, but just a beautiful piece. Same details of articulations, of sounds and touches.
These three pieces are also available in the book Works by Romantic Women Composers, and that's available on the One Eye Publications website. Like I said, the three pieces will be published independently on Sheet Music Plus. But I mean, this is just an example of some of the music she wrote. I have a huge folder of her music that I'm going through right now and looking to publish more of her works, because really this woman, the music is outstanding, and it's such a to find all this music.
Yeah. They're beautiful pieces, and that should be, available. It's wonderful music for different levels.
Exactly. And I think a terrific teaching material.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are proud to include all of this music in the Conservatory Canada Classical Piano Syllabus, as Eleanor and Cecile have mentioned. Most of the pieces, I think, are already there, but some of them we still have some updating to do as Eleanor uncovers more and is able to publish more. And I think he may have held up the books, but I've got them here just in case anyone wants to see. These are what the Hedwige Chretien books looks like as One Eye publishes them. And this is the other book here that they took music from today, all published by Eleanor. And I appreciate that she sends these to me. I have a great time reading through all this music and endorse it wholeheartedly for use on our piano exams, any of them at all.
It seems coming back into some popularity in Europe. You do see some of these pieces, various pieces by her programmed, and you can start to find YouTube videos. I mean, she wrote, I've sung some of her pieces for voice and piano, and you can actually find some of these recordings now on YouTube, also for violin and piano. So it's nice to see, that people are paying attention to her music, and it's back.
And I even saw some movements from the sonatinas transcribed for clarinet and piano, and for a clarinet, did I say wind quintet? Things like that, violin and piano. And you were saying that she wrote also piano for hands pieces.
Yes. So a number of them. So some of them you can find I've been able to find on IMSLP, but I do hope to go to Paris this spring and uncover more works that'll be at the Bibliothèque.
A lot of her works are there, but they haven't been put on the nets yet, so they're still. But like you said, there's more and more. We can see that in just in the past few months, there's more and more interest for her and her works. She's coming out, so.
And those of you that joined us last week for the webinar on the waltz by George and Stella will have noticed that one of her pieces was featured there. So I'd encourage everyone that's watching this after the fact to go back and check that webinar from last week on the waltz. Incidentally, I know a number of you probably already watched the replay in the first couple of days. Then it got taken down. There was a copyright strike on it. And so it's been reposted. And in the description of that webinar, I've included a link to the missing video there. You can go and actually watch the official video of Glenn Gould playing the Ravel Waltz if anyone's interested. But that's just a little aside. Does anyone have any questions here for Eleanor and Cecile today? I know it's always a quiet audience here because you both work in such detail, and we appreciate all the pedagogical insights that you're providing us. So not seeing any questions. I'd encourage those of you who are here that are, CC teachers to join me next week on Friday at noon Eastern time live. Come with your questions, and I'll talk a little bit about a few projects that we have ongoing that I can elaborate a little bit more on at that time. Cecile, Eleanor, anything extra that you wanted to add today? Anything else?
No, it's been fun to be here.
Yeah.
Very nice. And I just want to say to everybody who's listening, we're happy to answer any questions, or if you have any particular interest, things that you would like us to look into more in depth or to develop, would be willing to, very happy to do so.
Yeah, well, thanks both of you for your research. Yeah, anyone reach out to me and I can pass those messages on to Cecile and Eleanor if you like. So thanks again, both of you, for your research, and everyone for being here today. And those of you watching the replay after the fact, thanks for joining us for these sessions, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okie dokie.